2 national championships, and nobody drafted him. But the Raiders just added a linebacker who already knows half this locker room. The secondary got another intriguing name worth watching in training camp. A trade that turned a failed first-round pick into a future starter deserves way more credit than it's getting. And the question that has Raider Nation buzzing? Could this front office actually pull off a stunning move for one of the best receivers in the league? Let's get into it. 180 tackles and 4.5 sacks over 2 seasons at Arkansas. And the player behind those numbers is linebacker Xavian Sori, signed by the Raiders as an undrafted free agent out of a program that knows how to produce NFL talent. Before Arkansas, Sori spent 3 seasons at Georgia, where he won 2 national championships alongside Quay Walker, Nakobe Dean, and Brock Bowers, 3 players who are already on this roster. That's not a coincidence. The Raiders have been deliberate about adding Georgia talent, and Sori fits right into that culture from day one. He already knows Walker and Dean personally, played in the same linebacker room with them, and understands what it takes to win at the highest level of college football. That kind of familiarity matters when you're an undrafted rookie trying to earn a spot in a competitive training camp environment. Now, Lance Zierlein at NFL.com was honest about the concerns. Sori has athletic ability, but his missed tackle totals are alarming, and he has issues with coverage awareness in zone drops. Those are real problems at the NFL level, and nobody is pretending otherwise. But here's what also matters. NFL.com ranked him as the 9th best undrafted free agent linebacker in this entire class. That's not nothing. The Raiders front office made it clear after the draft that this class has really high floors, and that they expect a lot of these players to come in ready to contribute. Sori fits that description. He's already 24, so the upside ceiling is what it is. But the experience level he brings from 2 major SEC programs and 2 national championship runs is real. If he can clean up the fundamentals and show out on special teams, he has a legitimate path to making this roster. Raider Nation loves the player who comes in with something to prove, and Sori has been proving people wrong his entire college career. The Raiders spent 4 draft picks on defensive backs this year, and then they went out and kept adding, because the next name worth knowing in that secondary is safety Tanner Wall, an undrafted free agent out of BYU who was first-team All-Big 12 last season. 4 interceptions, elite athleticism in his vertical and broad jump, and a RAS score that puts him in almost the 90th percentile among safeties. That's not a typical undrafted free agent profile. Wall ran a 4.61 in the 40, which isn't going to wow anybody, but speed isn't everything for a safety who reads the game well and makes plays on the ball. The size is the real concern. 6'1" and 196 pounds is on the lighter side for an NFL safety, but the athleticism and ball production are hard to ignore. What makes his path to this roster genuinely interesting is the versatility factor. Director of College Scouting Brandon Yergin made it clear after the draft that versatility in the defensive backfield was a priority for this coaching staff. Rob Leonard is running a scheme that demands players who can line up at multiple spots, and Wall has played nickel, deep safety, and outside corner during his college career. That's exactly the kind of player this defense wants in the building. The competition is real. Trayden Stukes and Dalton Johnson both have a head start as draft picks. But if Wall outplays either of them in training camp, that conversation changes fast. The Raiders also signed Wall's BYU teammate Chase Roberts, which tells you this front office did their homework on that program. 2 players from the same school showing up in the same undrafted class is not random. This secondary is young, athletic, and loaded with upside. If even half of these pieces develop the way this coaching staff believes they can, Rob Leonard is going to have some real weapons to work with. Drop your take in the comments. Which undrafted defensive back are you most excited to watch in training camp? The linebacker room got deeper with a 2-time national champion who already knows half this locker room. The secondary added another athletic playmaker who fits exactly what Rob Leonard is building. This front office is stacking pieces and the direction is clear. But the biggest question hanging over this offense is still unanswered. Raider Nation, I need your take. Do you trust this front office to go out and make a splash move at wide receiver before training camp? Drop it in the comments. Subscribe if you're riding with the silver and black this season, because the next name we're about to talk about could change everything about this offense. Nobody is saying this out loud yet, but somebody has to. And the name that keeps coming back is A.J. Brown. And the question is whether this front office has the nerve to actually make that call to Philadelphia. The Raiders have $25.8 million in cap space sitting right now. That's real money. That's the kind of number that opens doors that most rebuilding teams don't even get to knock on. And when you look at what this offense actually needs, a true number one receiver who demands double coverage, who wins contested catches, who makes life easier for everyone around him, Brown is exactly that player. He is one of the best wide receivers in the entire league, and there has been enough smoke around his situation in Philadelphia to at least make the conversation worth having. Now, is this likely? Probably not. The Eagles aren't in the habit of giving away all-pro receivers for nothing, and the price tag on a trade like this would be significant. But here's what makes it interesting. The Raiders are in a different position than most people realize. They have cap space, they have draft capital, and they have a rookie quarterback who needs a weapon badly enough that spending big actually makes sense right now. Mina Kimes already said this offense needs a receiver who matches what Fernando Mendoza does well. Those back shoulder balls, those out routes with touch and timing, Brown runs every single one of those routes at an elite level. He is the scheme fit, he is the missing piece. And if John Spytek is serious about making this team a sleeper in the AFC West this season, this is the kind of move that announces that intention to the entire league. We feel this one differently. Every single one of us who has watched this offense search for a true number one receiver for years knows exactly what a player like Brown would mean. The phone call costs nothing. The question is whether this front office is bold enough to make it. The 2023 NFL Draft feels like a lifetime ago for this franchise, and the decision to finally move on from Tyree Wilson this offseason was the right call. And this front office deserves real credit for how they handled it. Wilson was the 7th overall pick 3 years ago under a completely different regime. And after 3 seasons of underwhelming production and a scheme change that made him an even worse fit, John Spytek pulled the trigger and traded him to the New Orleans Saints along with a 7th-round pick in exchange for a 5th-round selection. That 5th-round pick became safety Dalton Johnson. Think about that for a second. The Raiders turned a failed top 7 pick into a young safety they can develop for the next 4 seasons, and they did it without dragging the situation out and letting it become a distraction. That's smart roster management. That's exactly what a front office is supposed to do. Wilson was never going to fit the 3-4 defense that Rob Leonard is building, and keeping him around for one more disappointing season would have helped nobody. Not the team, not Wilson, not this rebuild. By moving him now, Spytek controlled the ending while maximizing the return. And here's the part that makes this move look even smarter. Isaiah Pola-Mao and Jeremy Chin are both set to hit free agency after the 2026 season. Johnson can spend this entire year developing behind veteran safeties, and then step into a starting role if the Raiders can't work out team-friendly deals with either of them. That's 2 birds with 1 stone. This front office inherited a roster full of decisions made by people who are no longer here, and one by one, they are cleaning house the right way. Not out of panic, not out of pressure, but out of a clear vision of what this team needs to look like. Just win, baby, isn't just a saying, it's a standard. And this front office is finally building toward it with real intention. This front office is moving with purpose. A 2-time national champion is headed to training camp, ready to fight for a roster spot. The secondary added another athletic playmaker built for what Rob Leonard is running. A failed pick from a previous regime is gone, turned into a future starter the right way. And the boldest question of this offseason is still wide open. Every move tells you something about where this team is headed, and the direction is clear. Drop your take in the comments. This space belongs to everyone who screams, "Just win, baby," and never gives up. Tomorrow, we have more.